سعادة السيد السعود القصيبي أمين عام لهيئة التقييس لدول مجلس التعاون، وسعادة المهندس أحمد المطيري مدير عام مركز الاعتماد، وزميلي السيد سعادة السيد خالد آل الشيخ، وسعادة وزير وزارة التجارة والصناعة والسياحة وفريق العمل للوزارة. وأيتها الحضور الكرام، أود أن أقدم لكم نبذة بسيطة بس باللغة الإنجليزية عن فرص الاستثمار في مملكة البحرين. شكرا. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you just a very brief overview of the investment opportunities that are available to you in the Kingdom of Bahrain and how we are working to realize the vision of 2030 in this regard. So first, a brief introduction to Bahrain. You all know Bahrain quite well, so I won't spend too much time on it. One thing to note, though, however, is that in 2017, our real GDP growth was around 3.9%, which is significant considering the price of oil has been declining for the last 3 years. We attribute this to a number of factors. The first and foremost is a forward-thinking government that is trying to diversify our economy away from oil. We have worked on a number of policies. There's the cloud first, which insists that the government go to the cloud before it goes to hard servers. There's changes in the regulatory framework, including the regulatory sandbox, crowdfunding regulations, and a number of laws that have come out that are intended to make investment in Bahrain easier and entrepreneurship easier. One significant law of this type is the Bankruptcy Law, which was spearheaded by MOICT, and we hope will make taking a risk and starting your own company easier for everyone in Bahrain. As I mentioned, Bahrain's economy is actually quite diverse. About 80% of our economy does not depend on oil. Our largest contributors are still government, the transport and telecommunications network, and the financial sector. So it's quite, you can see it's quite distributed. Bahrain has been a pioneer for a long time in the GCC. The first schools were built here, the first oil well was dug here, the first international airport was opened here. We hope to continue to be in the forefront of development as we go forward. And we are a small and agile country that can start things that can then proceed to be adopted in the rest of the GCC, or at least we hope that that's the case. There are a number of rankings here. Primarily, we would like to point out that we are the first in MENA for ICT development, and we are among the first in Islamic finance development. This is playing to our two strengths, the two sectors which employ more Bahrainis than any others, which are the telecoms and transportation section, and also the financial sector. So this shows the effect of having a long history in both of those sectors and a large level of Bahrainization in both those sectors. There are many diverse investment opportunities in the Kingdom of Bahrain. The financial services sector is home to over 400 financial institutions. The manufacturing sector is one of the fastest, cheapest, and most efficient ways to access the GCC market. We are working very hard to bring startups and to bring ICT infrastructure to Bahrain. You will have heard of the Amazon Web Services opening their region in Bahrain. This is one of the first, and we hope not the last, of the big companies that we hope to attract to the GCC. One thing to note about the Amazon company coming to Bahrain, they are opening homes as well in the UAE and in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we hope that having started their journey here, that they will continue to find the GCC a rewarding place to set up. So why Bahrain? We think that it gives you an efficient access to the GCC market. As my colleague, Mr. Al-Sheikh mentioned, it's an attractive economy. It has about $2 trillion worth of market growth we expect by the year 2025. We think that Bahrain has a favorable business environment. It's easy to do business here. It's easy to set up here. It is cost competitive as compared to some of our neighbors. The cost of life is less here. There's also a skilled and affordable local workforce and diverse investment opportunities. Small island, small can be beautiful. You're only 25 minutes away from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. At no point whether you're in the manufacturing zone in Hid or near the airport or at the port. At no point are you more than half an hour away from the biggest market in the GCC. I mentioned the $1.5 trillion market in the GCC. Again, there's 36 million GCC consumers. So even just if you look at the GCC and not MENA itself, it's an attractive market for international companies. Bahrain has many strong bilateral relationships which have been established globally, notably the US Free Trade Agreement, but also there are free trade agreements with Singapore, the Greater Arab Free Trade Area, and other double tax treaties, which make setting up in Bahrain a logical choice for consumers who want to set up here and ship to the United States. There are no corporation taxes, there are no personal income taxes, there are no wealth taxes or capital gains taxes, and uniquely amongst many of our neighbors, we don't have free zones. All of Bahrain is one zone. So there are no industrial zones and there are no banking zones. I mentioned the lower operating costs. This is a study that was done by KPMG last year in 2018, which goes through some of the costs that are associated with setting up in Bahrain and with hiring Bahrainis. There are government programs that will subsidize up to 70% of the salary of a Bahraini for the first 3 years that he or she is employed with you. And the government will also subsidize training costs in many instances. So we are trying to make it easier for employers to hire Bahrainis, train them, and make them effective and contributing members of our workforce. Bahrainis are highly educated, bilingual. They graduate from universities all over the world. I'm in my team at the EDB. I have people who graduated from New Zealand, from Australia, from Manchester, from the United States, and many other locations. That's just in one team of 6 people, so that gives you an idea. There are several opportunities for investment in Bahrain, and these are the main pillars. The first, physical infrastructure. As you all know, Bahrain was the grateful recipient of the GCC Fund, which has allowed for a large pipeline of investment in infrastructure, among which is the new airport, a proposed new causeway to Saudi Arabia, which strengthens our ties with our brother country of Saudi Arabia, but also allows for better connectivity and access to the GCC market. There's a Alba Line 6. Alba is now currently the largest aluminium smelter in the world and is expanding. There are real estate projects. There's an oil and gas refinery project, all of which are exciting opportunities for investors. There are several new policy and regulatory developments in 2018 which also make life easier for investors. I mentioned the Bankruptcy Law, but there are also the electronic transferable records and the e-transactions law. This is aimed at making the economy of the Kingdom of Bahrain a digital one. So instead of having to sign a check and give it to your bank when you have a mortgage, you will actually be able to sign online, and that will be enforceable and accepted in the court. There are other transactions that will happen, such as crowdfunding, which had traditionally been done by banks. Now you can raise money on a crowdfunding platform. And we've recently heard that Beehive is setting up. It's the first crowdfunding platform in Bahrain, so we're very excited about that. It's another way for entrepreneurs to get access to capital. In the pipeline, we are looking at our procurement legislations to make sure that it's easy for the government to procure services at a competitive and effective way. Export Bahrain is an entity that's set up under Tamkeen, which aims to make Bahrain, the life of companies exporting from Bahrain easier. We are looking at crypto assets. We are looking at improving our registration process with Sigillat 2.0. We're looking at improving our construction permitting process with Binayat 2.0. These are all refinements. These are all playing into, as my colleague Mr. Khalid al-Sheikh said, all of the GCC countries have visions about enhancing and enabling the private sector. These are what the Bahraini government is doing to promote that. We are working on a number of initiatives that are aimed at helping startups to flourish with various, this is the circle on the left is 2016. There were 35 startups in Bahrain by the EDB's count. And the circle on the right is 2018. You can see that there's been a significant shift in the startup sector, and we hope to continue to grow that and to follow in the footsteps of some of our neighbors who have had a lot of success in this also. There are various accelerators and incubators already in Bahrain funded by the government, which are working and have graduated several cohorts of companies, some of them local, some of them international. And the government provides funding for startups at every stage. So when you first have your idea and you want to build your prototype, you go to Temkeen, you get the minimum viable funding grant. Then you go to BDB for equity financing at a seed capital stage, and so on and so forth until you get to the venture capital funds that have just set up in Bahrain, which through the Al-Waha Fund. So there's... Sorry, what? Okay, خلاص. I should mention the oil and gas discovery in Bahrain, the largest in 80 years, and the Bahrain Energy Fund as well. It's being set up and managed by Usul and with Noga Holdings. Finally, أنا شهادتي مجروحة في هالمجال, ولكن I think Bahrain is a great place to live and a great place to have kids. And the quality of life in Bahrain is one of our most attractive features. We have great schools, we have a great lifestyle, we have an expanding calendar of events, and we hope that the expats among us, as well as the locals, enjoy Bahrain and continue to find it a great place to live. I mentioned the low cost of living as well, and there's something. So in summary, why Bahrain? Access your market efficiently. Have a favorable business environment where if you have a problem, you can reach the right person quickly and change can be made. Competitive costs, a skilled and affordable workforce, and a high quality of life. These are, I won't bore you with these, some of the companies that set up in Bahrain in 2018, so you can see them on the slide. But I want to end with this. This is the EDB's staff photo. But we really believe that Team Bahrain is more than just a slogan. We want to live by it. We want to be Team Bahrain, and eventually we want to be Team GCC. Thank you.